Welcome back to Boring Reviews.
Boring Land.
Oh, just kidding.
Blasphemer!
All
Hello,
right.
Boring Review Nation!
Kind of pointless.
We know all things.
All right. Welcome back to Boring Reviews, Boring Land. Nick here.
Gabe.
And sorry, I'll just check my mic. And we are excited to check out episode 8. That's right. 8 of these suckers. Paatal Lok. This series has 9, which I'm not sure, why not one more and get us 10, but at least it's one more than the typical 8. 9 total episodes. This is our 8th episode. This is our 8th review. And, full disclosure, me and Gabe, we had planned today to do some recordings, and he's like, hey, let's get Paatal Lok episode 8 in. And it was noon or so, and I'm like, I don't got time for that. And then it took me out 5 minutes to say, oh, I got time for that. So I checked it out very recently. I know he checked it out very recently. I think you saw it today, right?
Right.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about episode 8, and we're just going to jump right into it. So episode 8, it starts off with, or the whole thing basically is our man Chaudhary. He is still investigating. The man's been suspended. The man's been, for what we understand, fired. The man has risked the loss of his son and his wife as far as estrangement. They're not life 100%. He's been able to clear up a lot of that stuff with his family, but he has still got to get to the bottom of it. He's at the point where he is just invested more than just a job, more than just assignment. I think it's even more at this point than just him proving he was right and trying to prove that he's a good detective. He has got to get to the bottom of what's going on, and he's continually in this episode trying to get more information on this Donwello character. We learn about Bosch Pei, this politician of sorts or whatnot, and he is trying to figure out how to do the 4 horsemen, as Gabe calls them. How are they involved with this assassination attempt on Sanjeev? How is Bosch Pei involved? And he goes into these situations where I've seen many times in cop shows, investigative shows, where they're at the point where they're willing to break into places. They're willing to break the law. They're willing to go against what they have protected as a police officer because they have got to get down and dirty to get to the bottom of what's going on. I don't want to give too much going on in this first few second rant, but thank goodness, and I was so confused at first. You let me know if you were the same way, Gabe. Thank goodness we finally figured out who that girl was in that photo with Tope Singh, because when they start off with Shukla and this girl, I forget her name, is it Shandu or Shonda or something like that? When they start off with them, he has his most annoying wife who's just a complete punk. He's getting a cigarette break. He meets this girl who was the same girl in the picture with Tope earlier in the series. I had no idea who she was. And I'm like, why are we going into this situation? But then once Chaudhary was investigating, we find out that she's a girl in that picture, and he starts putting things together. Did you recognize her right away, Gabe, or were you kind of confused like I was?
I did not. And I was going to say, I love one of the things how this episode was directed, okay? They give it to us at the beginning, and we're like, exactly, what's this storyline, right? Guy in a restaurant with his wife who's being super annoying. He gets up for a cigarette break, finds this hot chick who's like crying. He asks her for a light. She gives it to him. So he starts talking to her like, hey, what's going on or whatever. And, they kind of hit it off or whatnot. She's a writer. He's a writer. Or he's a poet, I should say. And, then they jump back into our story. And I'm like, why did they even give us that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, it's really good storytelling. Okay. They're giving us those Easter eggs at the beginning of the episode that by the end of the episode is going to make sense. Then you move in to Chaudhary, like you said, with his investigation. And I'll tell you what, they're and having a lot of family in law enforcement, and it was something I was going to do before my injury in college. That was originally going to be my original career. Bro, this happens seldomly, but it does happen. I've heard about that. I've heard about this. And the thing is, my uncle has always said, you've got to be able to leave the job at the door. You can't bring it home with you, because as a law enforcement officer, you're going to see a lot of disturbing things. Okay. And if you do, you're going to bring that home. It's going to affect your relationship with your family. It's going to affect your relationship with your friends. And you become a very untrusting individual, and you become consumed by the job. And, that's why there's the stereotypical alcoholic cops, is because that's how they cope with what they see, death and despair and pillaging and rape. But you see the worst of worst when you're in law enforcement. That's just the reality about it. Okay. Which is why some of them react the way they do. I think that Chargie's gone over the edge, bro. Because he has no reason to be investigating this at this point. If anything, you're going to get into more trouble because of it. It's not like you solved this crime and all of a sudden you're going to get a promotion, bro. You got fired. It's over. You're done, cousin. I get that he's trying to clear his name, but it's now. At least before you had law enforcement backing you up. Now you don't have law enforcement backing you up. And like you said, he's going above and beyond. He's breaking into it was like either a records station or something like that.
Yeah, like some public records or something like that. Yeah.
Right, to find out some records. Then he got his old partner on the phone and he's telling him to clone the DCP's number. And he's like, what? No explanation or what did you just ask me to do? And he's like, oh, I forgot. Yeah, he holds rank above you. Forget I had.
And sorry to cut you off, but I love that scene right there because so far we have seen his partner who's just like, I guess he's not really even his partner anymore, but we've seen him just go along with it. Yeah, whatever. You're my elder. I'll do what you say. But I like seeing him get some fight back. Like, you don't even care about me. You're just so obsessed with this case. And then you're right. He had to take a step back. And to his credit, he's like, yeah, that would get you in a lot of trouble. My bad. But I just wanted to say, I thought that was a really cool thing with their characters where it just wasn't always errand boy. He stood up and said, no, that's asking a lot right now.
And I think that we saw his arc. And we're talking about the partner. I always forget his name. I
want to say Ansari, but let me just double check.
I believe you're right. But...
we'll just go with that, and I'll let you know if we're wrong.
Okay, because early in the episode, we start following his storyline where he's being interviewed. It's actually a mock interview because I guess he's going for a higher position in law enforcement, and they ask him a politically loaded question, and he was honest about it. And they're like, anytime you get there, you did well up until this part in the interview. Anytime they ask you a politically loaded question, you just got to be positive and progressive. And he's like, he kind of stops and says, how could it be positive or progressive if that's not what I see as a minority? You know what I mean? But he's kind of down in the dumps about it. And then that's actually how he answers Chaudhry when Chaudhry asks him. He says, so I'm not supposed to ask any questions. I'm just supposed to go do what you asked me to do what you asked me to do. Just be positive and progressive. So he's kind of standing up for himself and he's understanding how in law enforcement, politics plays a huge role in it. You hope that it doesn't, but it does. Okay. That's just real. Listen, if I get pulled over and I'm Joe Blow or whoever, you know what I'm saying, for running a red light, you could better believe I'm going to get that ticket. But if you are the son, wife, daughter, whoever of the police commissioner, bro, you could take 3 red lights, jump over a median, a curb, and what they're going to do is drive you home to make sure you're okay. Because what's your last name? Oh, you're related to the chief of police. That's
Let's
real.
keep it under wraps. Let's not get it out there. Let's not get that story out there.
And we know it happens all the time. Politics plays a huge role. And I think that was just his maturation of understanding how he had this I would say unrealistic belief about the job, and it's been brought down to earth. I feel like his world has crashed from understanding that this thing is probably a setup right now. He's realizing this doesn't make sense. He knew Chaudhry was right about the case. He saw how they did Chaudhry wrong, so he's upset about that. And now he's just seeing in the interview where you're giving me a politically loaded question that you don't even want me to answer truthfully. Why'd you ask the question in the first place? You know what I'm saying? And I guess the wool has been lifted up, you know what I mean, over his eyes. He's realized the realization of the situation, and it's made him grow. It's forced him to grow and become a different person. And I think that to a certain extent, that all happens to us in life, you know, in certain aspects.
Yeah, I do. I completely agree, and I don't think it's an India issue. I don't think it's an Asia issue. I think it's all over the place, and it doesn't matter where you're from. You're going to see that to some extent. You mentioned how you love the direction of this episode. I completely agree. The director of this episode, along with every other episode, which is really cool, is in one way, shape, or form, is Avinash Arun. And then Prosit Roy also is his co-director in each episode. So these guys did a great job. And in this episode, I think more than any other one, we have foreshadowing. We have a little bit of poetry, talking about the poet Shukla. And in his situation, and sorry, where he gets tripped up on that question about minorities, about the treatment of them, and him speaking from his personal background, it's hard for him not to mix up that real life and his job. What happens when he goes down the stairs, when he leaves that interview, and you can tell he feels mad at himself? The one guy's like, oh, they grilled you really hard, right? Don't worry about it. You're a minority, so you'll get hired. And it's just an interesting, ironic situation where the directors put that in the real quick. Again, I don't think it's just an India thing. That's everywhere. Where, you know, the thing that will hurt you can also help you, but then you also have to live in that world, and you play this game of tug of war back and forth. Which side am I on? Because minority-wise, the character is one, you know, that one minority, but in the job, they're trying to be this lead detective or whatever the position is. So I just thought that was really interesting in how the waters are muddled here and muddy and not crystal clear. But you're right. Chaudhary has gone too far. And the thing that's a huge sign for him where he's gone too far is his wife is coming around. She's calling him up. She's saying, I miss you. What we've seen from their relationships in the past, that doesn't happen between the two of these people. You can tell there's love there, even though they're actors. You can tell there's love, but she's calling him up a few times. She called him in episode 7. They had a few laughs about the headache and rubbing my head or whatever. Super stubborn people, but she's calling you up and she's giving you that olive branch, but he can't see anything. He can't see the forest, the trees. He can only see that one tree, that one obstacle. He's got his blinders on and trying to figure this out. But the cool thing about this episode too, in my opinion, once again, it goes super fast for me. It leads up because that conversation with Ansari and Chaudhary gets Ansari to think like, okay, fine, I'll reach out to my contact Deepak and I'll see what I can get. The guy comes through, delete this as soon as you get it. Oh yeah, no problem. He just closes his computer. I don't think he deleted it. And he goes on to his investigation to figure out what's going on. He goes back to those files that he had at work. And then Chaudhary, he's going through the rabbit hole. He goes to the public records. He barely gets away. I thought that was hilarious where he was hiding. He's trying to turn off his light. And the guy's like, who's in there? And he comes for him and he just smacks him. And the guy falls on the floor. Ah! Typical thing. And then goes after him. He locks the guy in there. He gets to the taxi cab. He's on the phone with Ansari. And this is the very end of the episode. But my point is, it doesn't end well for him as far as we know. Another cliffhanger. My point is both of these characters who are so different, they have that common goal, and one is obsessed, one is just determined to be a good partner, takes them to this finale that we're going to have in the next episode. It was so beautifully written, but you're absolutely right. Tangents over. Chaudhary is completely obsessed. We can see that where nothing's going to stop him, even his own health, but the guy is still a boss. The guy is still taking people out, pushing people down in public records, doing whatever he can. He's being sloppy, but he's just so obsessed. And
that's not even
I love it.
That's not even the first thing he does. The first thing he does is he goes to this political rally, right? And he's trying to get closer to the guy, and they're like, oh, no, only press. So he runs into somebody he knows, and it's like some kind of reporter or something. So he chases him down, knocks him down, and steals his badge. I mean, he's gone. There is no more blurred line. He's way over the line. The line is non-existent to him. There is no wrong or right. He's going to get answers. And he notices, as a good detective, hey, there's two guys up on the stage, and their relationship seems a little bit more than just, touchy-feely, yeah. It's a little touchy-feely. It's not platonic right there. You know what I mean? So he follows her, the girl, because he says, I recognize that girl from somewhere. He even asked one of the security guys, what's that girl's name?
The dude's like, you're being a little nosy, man. Sorry, journalist. And you can tell the guy was annoyed. Even the guy that had that few second moment right there did a great acting job. He was so annoyed.
He was like, because that's how journalists are. They want to know everything. So he follows the girl, right? And follows her to the hotel, and that she's going to, tries to figure out what floor she's on. He loses her, but lo and behold, he gets to the elevator. And as he's about to leave, he sees the guy, the one that's right there with the politician, go in. What girl are we talking about? Tope's girl. That's where he recognizes her from the picture. And this politician is a right-hand man, the poet that actually works for the head political figure, Bajpayee. Come to find out that here's where the whole story starts making sense. After the poet guy leaves, he goes in there. He finds out that night she was with her parents having dinner, the girl with Topi, and they had a relationship earlier on. He became obsessed with her. He wanted to marry her. She said no because he's from a lower caste system, so she started following her. So as she's having dinner with her parents, he calls her. He says, I'll kill myself right in front of your apartment, whatever, so everybody could know, your dad could know. And that's the very night that they gave us at the beginning of the episode when she meets the poet. Shukla. Yeah. Now, she says she fell in love with Shukla. I don't know how true that is, or it's just a money grab.
I actually kind of agree with her. I know Chaudhary didn't, but I kind of believed her, I should say. Not agree. I believed her.
I did not, for one reason. A, because of what happened with Chaudry at the end, and we'll talk about that, not at the end, but at the end of their interaction, where, we might as well give it away right now. She's giving the whole song and dance. I didn't know what I was sending them to, and whatever. I just got jumped into this thing. But here, let me take off my clothes, and I'll do whatever you want. Just please. Okay, yeah, he said, I almost believed you. Using sex as a weapon? Absolutely not. That's why I didn't believe her. Plus, if you notice, after Shulk left or whatever, how to say? Shukla left. She was just watching the watch he had left or whatever.
She was so happy about that.
She was so happy about that. Why? Because it's expensive. So again, I feel like she's a gold digger. That's just my personal opinion.
So the reason why I said I believed her is because she showed him attitude right away. Talking about Chaudry, she's like, whatever, you can't do anything to me. I'll just call up Shukla, and he called her bluff each time. And I understand she's going to try different angles, and this could just be another angle of hers. I totally get that. But it just seemed like maybe the actress just did a really good job of playing that Black Widow character, which is the name of the episode. And again, talk about poetry. Bajpayee is talking about what a Black Widow is, comparing it to the other politicians that he's running against. And it happens to be this girl that's working for him. It's just so super cool. But I felt like she actually really did like that Shukla guy. I think like I could be totally played. This is why I'm married to Jody. I'll never, ever go anywhere else because women will take me for a ride. But it just seemed like she even though the guy is older or whatever, it just seemed like she got connected to him when he was singing that song to her where she was having her crying tears or whatever. Anyways, turns out this guy is in connection with Bajpayee as a right-hand man. They, from what Chaudhary found out, he discovered that they actually are going after the Four Horsemen, as you call them, not Sanjeev, that it's a whole ruse. Like you had said from the very beginning, the intelligence agency does not want this to be fully investigated. They didn't give him all the ingredients to the meal because it looks like all these people are in cohorts, whatever it's called, to take out the Four Horsemen for whatever reason with the connection with Master G. I'm not sure if I understood that perfectly, but that's kind of what I got from it.
Yeah, well, basically that it was a setup. Okay, she wanted to get rid of Tope because she didn't want anything to do with him. She told Sherlock about him, and he said, "Hey, just have him show up to this meeting with Taiji, right? It's Taiji, and have him stay with him through the job." And the job was supposedly to commit the assassination. But now we found out that even Taiji, who we thought, yeah, this guy absolutely was a part of it, because we find out his backstory. This guy is tough. We saw that he took some dudes out in his village where he was from. We thought full blown, yeah, this guy's a stone-blooded killer. He's part of this group. Nah. He just absolutely was in love with a girl, and he got drugged into this situation, and she set him up. I think the only one that was actually supposed to be there was Taiji, and they're just it also going back to some poetic poetic symmetry when the news reporter, remember that he has up with the younger girl, Amitash. Yeah, he gets upset because she's talking to the head of the guy of the news organization, the head of the channel's son, who's been sent there as an intern.
You're talking. I'm sorry, Sanjeev. Sanjeev, right? About Sarah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Sanjeev's getting jealous, right? So he tries to call out this kid, and Sarah's like, "Well, you want a news story? How about fake news?" And she's saying, because she knows that he knows that those guys really aren't coming after him. If not, he wouldn't be playing as cavalier as it was. So again, I saw that coming a mile away. Like, there's no way, even as a reporter, you got those kind of guts where if a guy got 45 bodies on you and you got the ISI coming after you, you're not going to be that cavalier about it. So she's threw it in front of everybody in the meeting. How about fake news? And she shut him up right away.
She's only in this episode for 3 seconds, but she's so awesome. They gave her great lines.
And that was a great line. And I think that we've already gone far enough down the rabbit hole to know this whole thing was a setup, okay? And Sanjeev just tried to take advantage of it in order to save his professional life, because he was on his way out of that television station as a reporter. He was on his last legs, and he's, again, reporting fake news. I love how she says that line. But this was a conspiracy. Okay, now you feel bad for those other people. Kabir M, for all we know, is dead, right? Because the last episode we saw the dude go up to him with the razor blade or box cutter, and I don't think he survived that. We saw him get pulled out in a stretcher. Didn't look like he was breathing. We already seen with I can't remember her name.
Mary.
What Mary has gone through in there. I mean, again, and now we feel bad for Tope. Like, oh man, yeah, Tope might have had that checkered past, but we know that he was just standing up for his people as far as being from a lower caste system or whatnot. And yeah, he's a tough guy, but he doesn't even belong in there. He got set up. They all did, with the exception of Taiji. I'm pretty sure Taiji was.
Well, I think he was their main focus because he was the Master G's right-hand man, right? And they had this whole thing about a political nonsense about how Master G would protect Bajpayee and vice versa. And I don't know, I haven't seen episode 9, but it seems like it alludes to me that Master G, Dunwela, I think he's dead. I think he's gone because they said, why would he allow these other candidates to actually have a shot against Bajpayee when he usually controls different things? So obviously some kind of falling out. Who knows? Take out Tyagi, Master G's right-hand man, and then you have him in control once again. Who knows? But one thing is very, very small, but the pictures that we have of Shanda the girl, and Tope, and we had a few seconds of that where he's talking about the C on his tattoo, the cat, and the dog will do anything for his cat, and she says anything. That had to be after he threatened to kill himself, right? After she had this plan with Shukla in place to get Tope to be along with Tyagi so that he can go down with him. It had to be at that point because she says anything. Are you sure? Anything? That's got to be that part. Doesn't really matter, but I just wanted to see like the chronologically. I think that's where that part takes place. But either way, this episode was fantastic. There's so much more we can say about it, but we're trying to do really good in our time right here. And we hope that you're enjoying these reviews and that you're watching them with us. Comment, interact with us. Let us know what your thoughts. Let us know what your theories are. Even though you've probably already seen episode 9, take that out of your memory and just talk to us about episode 8. But, we really appreciate you watching. And, that's all I got to say. I'll let Gabe end it for us with any of his final thoughts.
Yeah, my final thought is, we started off with it. Obviously, Chaudhry's gone too far because at the end of the episode, he was reckless. He had to know that people were onto him. And after he breaks into that records place, he goes back into the cab that had been driving him around, and now there's Taiji or Master G's men there. We don't know who they are, but they got the drop on him. They pulled a gun on him, and it's not gonna end well. Okay, it's not gonna end well. It's you already know he's gonna be killed. If he's not killed, then he's probably gonna be kidnapped. But now he's in the enemy's hands, and it's like you feel bad for this guy because he was just trying, like you said, to I guess at the very minimum, he just wants to be right, to prove he's right, prove his worth, because it's not like this is gonna get his job back. But investigating this thing might have cost him his life. So, I'm super excited for episode 9, guys, to see what happened. Please, no spoilers in the comments. If you haven't watched it up until now, check it out. Join our discussions. And until next time.
We know all things.
Ooh, I love it.
I stole it.